podcast excellence since 2005. This is the King of Podcasts radio network, kingofpodcasts.com.
YouTube has passed the 20-year mark, and in those last 20 years, there's been a managed decline in traditional media.
The King of Podcasts radio network proudly presents the Broadcasters Podcast. Here is the King of Podcasts.
And welcome to another Broadcasters Podcast. This is King of Podcasts here with you. Welcome you to the program for another episode. Thank you for listening in wherever you find the show, whether it's through Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube Music, iHeartMedia, or iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and other platforms. So tonight, there was a feature piece in Variety that talked specifically about the rise of YouTube and what that did to the industry of media in general, because it has been the game changer all this time. And I still remember when I started watching YouTube, I think it was 2006, 2007, because I really didn't adapt right away. But it's also during when social media was just making its way in. Facebook coming into play. You already had MySpace. Then you come in with Facebook, and things just started changing. And then Twitter, and oh my goodness, everything just went out of control. And social media just changed our lives forever. So here we are. Episode 373 of the program. Let's go into what happened from Variety and the story they put out this week about how the video colossus launched the creator economy and turned from Hollywood foe to friend. There's a lot here to go into. Todd Spangler put a big feature piece on this and talked about it. So they'll say it was all about roughly February 14th of 2005 was exactly when YouTube came to be. And that domain came to be as well. That's the whole idea they were saying. So as they're going through this, they're saying now in the story that over the past 20 years, Google-owned YouTube has become the world's most watched video platform, bar none. The home base of countless self-made influencers, podcasters, commentators, and entrepreneurs, and over time has made it into the big leagues of TV through rights deals with the NFL, Disney, Warner Brothers, Discovery, and NBC Universal. All the major media platforms after all this time. In so many different ways are they monetizing, and in so many different ways they are monetizing for creators. It's a great thing. So it's had quite a career when it comes to the interaction with Hollywood, establishing itself as a digital household utility. If you wanted to find anything on video, the search invariably starts on YouTube. And at the first of YouTube's existence, when most of Hollywood viewed the company as a copyright infringing pariah, well, now no major studio network cannot afford to post its trailers, clips, previews, promotional interviews on the platform, and those same studios and networks are starting to make significant money from YouTube in carriage fees for channels via the YouTube TV or selecting TV shows and movies available for free viewing with advertisements. There's a lot with it. And with YouTube, let's say this as well. They destroyed MTV. MTV as music television was completely gone by the time YouTube came into play. Because when music videos could be put on YouTube, music videos would not be watched anywhere else. If you wanted to watch music videos, you had to go to YouTube. If you want to see a premiere of anything, you go to YouTube. And over the years, Google has done a great job of continuing to build that platform. Look, YouTube rarely has problems. It's one of the most stable platforms there is for watching anything. The app, watch anywhere on your phone, any device. The way you can cast it onto a television set and watch is incredible. And I know for YouTube as a consumer, I watch several hours of YouTube content a day. To go ahead and just find whatever subscription you want to get. And the fact that what made YouTube has been wonderful, aside from the fact we've had creators that have been putting out regular content for years on this platform, the podcast realm has been, podcasters have to be grateful for YouTube for what it does. Now, as for me, I don't use the video component that much, but I have a YouTube channel. I've been out there, I think since 2014, I've had content up there. So, and it's taken a long time to get the subscribers. And it's not the easiest barrier to entry to go ahead and get into monetization. I'm trying. I'm only a couple of subscribers away from 500. It took a long time to get here. But I've done some things to kind of build up and get more people to go to the YouTube channel. I've been trying my best to go and get the word out there. And now I'm at a point where I feel really good that it's one of the most important components of what I'm doing. So when I promote any of my content, I promote the website and the YouTube channel, because the YouTube channel, for whatever reason, it is the one place that if I want to go ahead and get any content out there to get some real virality, I can get 20,000 views on a couple of different videos of all my videos. And that's significant for me. And the fact that I can actually break 1,000 views on some of the videos that I have, that's also very big to me. But I have never broken anything more than that. And that's okay. I'm still a small fry. And because my content is not that much for video, like it's always a slate. But I've been at least doing something where I got a nice slate now, a good graphic I put up there for the show, and at least I put now captions. It's at least taking me to another direction on being able to do that. I tried to do video components and try to add extra video elements out there, but it's just not for me. It's just too much work. And hey, praise those people that want to go and do video content like that. But one of the things that always got my attention at the beginning of YouTube was watching fights, because everybody put their fights up there. And I was obsessed with that at the beginning. And then I started looking at what else was up there, because then you look at also the nostalgia that's up there. There's so much nostalgia up there of like anything from my childhood. I want to go and find, whether it's cartoons, whether it's game shows, whether it's TV shows, I can find it. And there are some places that put up there all the time. I want intros to television shows. I want intros to news broadcasts I used to watch when I was a kid. Whatever I want. If I want to catch a little taste of nostalgia by watching, one of the things I remember seeing is like, okay, how about an episode of Hollywood Squares, or the $25,000 Pyramid, or Match Game, or I want to watch Price is Right, or I want to watch, I don't know, something else. It's just all there, all of it. And it's amazing. And some of the things that are being put up there that don't get pushed down. One of the things I really enjoy now, there's so much political commentary. If you want to go and catch that, it's all on YouTube. When it comes to music commentary, I got a couple of different people I watch on a regular basis. One of the shows I religiously watch every Wednesday, and so Mark Grondin, Spectrum Pulse, Billboard Breakdown, I watch that show religiously. I've been watching it since 2018, 2019. I never miss it. Like some of the shows that we have out there are just so good. Company Man does a great job on his YouTube channel and all the different videos that he does. And then there's just other people that just do these things where there's so many shows you could watch, so much you could find, and it's just always easy to go and access. Because of all that, YouTube has really made it where you can replace television. When I want to watch something on television, a lot of times I will watch something, if it's not the streaming platforms, if it's not me actually physically turning on my television set, which I don't even do anymore. I have my laptop open up, or I have my phone connected to YouTube, and I'm watching all the time. As a radio aficionado, I can find air checks of various radio programs from years back, and I can put that up. I put my own up there, and it's really fun to go and do. To go back and just really explore, appreciate new and old content alike. You can find it up there, and it's really fun. I just really have enjoyed it a lot. It is unfortunate when you have some content that goes up there and then it gets a copyright strike and then it goes off. And I was like, oh, all the BBC stuff. There's one of the things I really enjoy is that there were some of the Top of the Pops yearbook series, like their history, the story of Top of the Pops. There's the BBC version of American Bandstand, and you have all these different episodes they put up there of like a good 15 years, like a yearbook of every year of what's going on that show. And it's one of the most wonderful things I watch, because I can just watch those things over and over. Among other things that they have up there. Well, there are some movies to go and watch. When there are some other shows to watch up there, like it's just wonderful. And I really love doing all that. It's just really, really great. So Hollywood is now at the knee of YouTube to be able to go and do the content. Jeff Zucker, former NBC Universal head and CNN head, says that YouTube is television. It's so many businesses wrapped into one short form, long form, live cable TV. I don't think any media company today can ignore YouTube. It's too big and too powerful. And tells you how big they are. YouTube this past year became the exclusive U.S. retailer for the Sunday Ticket out-of-home package, replacing DirecTV, and being out other highly interested parties, including Apple, for the rights. They took it, just like that. Sean Evans hosts a Pot One series, And he says, it's truly your own world on YouTube. You run the business, and there's no network notes or anything like that. And he's had his show on 2015, since 2015. He's had over 360 odd episodes and counting. And that show does really great. A lot of celebrities coming in to eat spicy chicken wings of various stages of heat. And then there's all the things that are going on right now with what they're doing themselves. So there's 3 million plus channels earning a cut of YouTube ad revenue of all these creators. And when they talk about the fact that the creators are impressive because of how they sweat every single detail, it's inspiring. And also, when you look at the YouTube videos now and the level, especially when you saw COVID, the increase of production value, more than ever now. Everybody is like, here come the microphones, here comes the nice cameras, here come the sets. Everybody has stepped up their video game for YouTube. Because now people have realized that the broadcast quality of audio and video that we always thought could only be done with television or movies can be done now very well with YouTube for the content for YouTube, because you're making significant money to go and do that. And you are motivated to go and do a lot of this. And that's what happens. So they go to the history of YouTube. I'm not going to go into all that. But originally, YouTube was incorporated in February 2005 by 3 former PayPal employees, Chad Hurley, Steve Chen, and Jawed Karim. The startup was housed in Hurley's garage in Menlo Park, California. The first uploaded video was April 23rd, 2005. And it was a 19-second video of Karim titled Me at the Zoo. And he shot it in front of the elephant exhibit at the San Diego Zoo. And it's still up there today. So just to give you an idea of how it worked. So now YouTube is watched by an estimated 2.44 billion monthly users. According to eMarketer, you have vlogs, how-to videos, comedy sketches. How many have gone on to go to a do-it-yourself vlog? Or something you had to go and find out, like, how do I get this working? How do I get this operating system? Car stuff. Anything. There's so much there. And it's wonderful. And in a way, TikTok's trying to go ahead and take some of that audience away. Worldwide, users on average more than 1 billion hours of YouTube content on TVs every day, according to the company. And that in the U.S., TVs recently surpassed phones and tablets as YouTube's #1 viewing device. According to Nielsen, for 2 years running, Americans have spent more time watching YouTube on their TV sets than any other streamer, including Netflix, Disney Plus, and Amazon Prime Video. That's astonishing. But that is exactly what they're doing. And then in terms of the money, in 20 years, look at what they do. Up 15% year to year. Global ad revenue of $36.15 billion. I will say this too. If you try to watch traditional TV now, and all the ads, whether they're drug ads or just some other crap that's out there, and I kid you not, I feel like the best, most polished, most interesting advertisements are on YouTube. I see the trailers. I see the other ads that are up there for whatever travel sites, and you don't see them. It's like there's all the advertisers now. They're specifically going after YouTube. They're not even trying to go after any other spots to get their ads out there. They're doing ad buys on YouTube. So all these newspapers, magazines, TV, cable networks, they're all losing out to YouTube because YouTube is taking their audience and their advertising. And they have various services right now that have also done very well that have been subsidiaries of YouTube. There's YouTube TV, the biggest internet delivered live TV service, 8 million plus customers right now. YouTube Premium, so you can get ad-free videos and other perks, and YouTube Music Premium, a music-only streaming service. And right now for YouTube Music and Premium services, it's up to 125 million subscribers. That's major money. If Google did not own YouTube and YouTube was a standalone, the company would be worth $400 billion. $400 billion, more than Disney, Comcast, Warner Brothers Discovery, and Paramount Global combined. Listen to that. Those are 4 of the biggest movie studios. They all have streaming. They all have television. It's either the big 4 corporate media behemoths. And YouTube by itself is bigger than all 4 combined. That is wild. That is wild. Now, Zucker mentions the fact that when he was running NBC in the 2000s, he had conflicts with YouTube, and he partnered with Rupert Murdoch and Fox to launch Hulu. And right now it was known internally as the YouTube killer, but he says that the idea behind Hulu was that we couldn't let YouTube take advantage of our IP at NBC and leave us in the dust with no ability to monetize it. Well, the good thing is Hulu has survived, and it's doing just fine right now as a standalone streamer, live service, all that kind of stuff. So YouTube sustains thousands of businesses that have grown into small media companies, and there's a lot of things that have come off of here. Like there's Mr. Beast has come for this, Hot Ones, among other shows. And they go into some of the shows that were part of all this. Like there's a lot to be said in this story. So if you want to go look for it on Variety, they go really into there. And they also make mention of in the story that media firms view YouTube as a really important part of their future growth strategies. And that is a night and day difference from what that was in the early Viacom days. So the NFL Sunday Ticket, we just mentioned that. Viral videos was always the first thing that YouTube had at first. And that was what everyone was watching. And that's what I was watching as well. But things just changed, and I'll never know what it was that made the whole change to it, but it works out. And everybody's all into it. Right now, Mr. Beast is the biggest star in YouTube. His real name is Jimmy Donaldson, 26-year-old. He has the most subscribed channel with 370 million followers, garnering a global fan base for his outlandish stunts, wacky big money giveaways, and philanthropic endeavors. He's earned an estimated $85 million in the 12 months ending June 2024. Big money for him. And that's amazing. And there's been a lot of people that were on here, but I mean, there's a lot of content creators that might have been on TikTok or that might have been on Instagram or whatever that started on YouTube. They got their bones going on YouTube and then move forward. And that's the part of everything why it really changes. And that's what really goes across the board. So everybody pays attention to this. And then you look at what they've done as everything. Like talk about for kids stuff. They are also just beating the competition out there. And what are you going to do? Like there's so much exclusive content on YouTube that you got to go to, and everybody's got to have a YouTube channel. Like it's just mandatory. I don't even know how would you do it if you didn't have it. And one of the things that also really made a difference for YouTube is that over the years, because Google took over the company, YouTube was standalone and Google bought it, is how they delivered programmatic ads. So you want geo-targeted ads, you want ads that are going to be put up there, and they're going to be targeted correctly. YouTube's the best. And that was one thing they never were perfect at, because sometimes you try to go and watch something on YouTube. You know, you think about 10 years ago before when iPhones and, you know, the Android phones and all these smartphones started coming into play. That's really when YouTube really took off, because then you saw the video technology step up to a certain point because we had 3G, 4G, 5G technology continues to get better. And at the same time, the ad platforms got better. So the way they deliver their ads is also extremely important for them, and they are kicking ass. And they've been doing that for years. So all that has been amazing for this company, what they've done. And now Nielsen adopted a new methodology for measuring viewing on TV, encompassing streaming. And while Netflix represents half of streaming, YouTube is in second place. YouTube is big as Netflix. And then summer 2022, we talked about it on the program. YouTube passed Netflix for TV viewing on the U.S. for the first time and has held the lead for the past 2 years. YouTube has a 10.8% share on TVs, Netflix 8.6%. That's wild. You could go to the YouTube app and look, or you could just take your phone and just cast it. And it's the Google Chromecast technology that's wonderful in the way they do it. It's amazing. But look at how it blows the rest of the market. When YouTube began to focus on boosting a share of living room viewing a decade ago, there were pockets of content to watch that time that weren't serving. And traditional linear TV, sports in particular, and they looked to go ahead and get YouTube TV going on in early 2017, combining the dizzyingly vast array of core content of YouTube with the likes of ABC, CBS, and Fox, NBC, and more. So you're really getting this complete one-stop experience. And that's what they've done. And they continue to grow. They've also gone with things where there have been regulators trying to come in of the monopoly that might have to try to break it up. But, you know, they have survived everything and have made it through. And YouTube has been an incredible story. Now, one of the areas they talk about as well in 2025 is AI. And YouTube has made significant investments in AI-based technology for video recommendations and Content ID, their copyright detection system. So now they have AI-enabled features for YouTube Shorts, and Hollywood still has their fears about AI encroaching on its intellectual property. Of course, that's why we had the strikes last year. The writers, actors, directors, everybody. And YouTube has pledged they will build responsible AI. They have announced a partnership with CAA to let actors and other talent identify and take down AI-generated fakes of themselves, uploaded to YouTube. All this is being done, and this is an amazing thing. So YouTube has gone throughout the gamut, and they've really done all their work. And there's been a lot of talk about YouTube over the last couple of months because of the change. But the real story that came out here that really caught my attention was to talk about this change for YouTube right now, where you have the launch of the website at beginning, and then it moved on to become the video platform that we know today and love. All of it. It's incredible. So there's a lot that's been said. NPR put a story out about it, really big thing. The Television Academy put a story out about it. And all the information they talk about. They make a point that while its economic might and endless infusion of content are well established, an intriguing trend in recent years has begun to reframe the way that both users and the media industry think about YouTube. A significant uptick in viewing on televisions. So people are watching YouTube on televisions. The last 3 years, they say, YouTube viewing on television has increased by 130%. That's 150 million people in the United States who watch YouTube on TVs every month. And globally now, more than 1 billion hours of content on TV screens every day. I didn't even know it was that big of an impact, but it is. And not only of YouTube, but of streaming platforms in general has risen steadily because of connected TVs, smart TVs. Now they allow users to stream video directly on their screens, so bypass cable and satellite, and YouTube's part of it. And as for streaming, which has their own content they go and build and create, YouTube is all user-generated. Because they have music, live streams, podcasts, and indeed some professionally produced content from major media brands. It's an all-in-one platform. Like, it's not a network controlling what the content is and producing it themselves. These are all these independent contractors that are just posting their content up there. And they're getting monetized by YouTube by going on the platform. And the ads being allowed to be put in. So the partner program was 2007. That's where they put in parameters for content creators to share in the dollars their content generates. Creators get 55% of revenue, and YouTube keeps 45%. And then they have the Shorts, the TikTok competitor. And now you had a thing where they were going on. First of all, it was introduced in 2020 in COVID to kind of keep up with TikTok. 1 minute maximum length. Now they got 3 minutes as of October. But what happens there is that 55% of those shorts go to YouTube, 45% to creators. And all that comes into play to get all that kind of money. And there have been YouTube originals, so they have their own original content as well. They've done it. So they've done a lot of things here. And they've worked with a lot of celebrities as well. So they've been all over the place doing things of what they want to go and do. Now, the TV Academy also goes on to say that the relationship between legacy media companies and YouTube is more synergetic than antagonistic, because it is the pipeline for people to go in and watch, or maybe go watch the linear channels, go back to network or cable to watch some of the programming, but it's being repurposed on YouTube because you got to get it seen in somewhere for somebody to watch. They make the point that in this story that, quote, major media companies have long since recognized that YouTube is a prime promotional vehicle and a way to retain viewers to whatever other platform they primarily monetize, whether it's pay TV, paid streaming services, ad-supported streaming services, or what have you. But they also go through content moderation. They have their standards and guidelines, and they do a lot. A lot of what's going on here, which is very important what they're going to try to do. The largest audience for YouTube is young. Just under 40% are 18 to 34 years old. And if you get 18 to 44 years old, it's 54%. So younger viewers go all over the YouTube on a regular basis. That's also a big deal as well. New adopting audience all the time. And like I said, there's been a lot of coverage about it. YouTube videos have changed the way we think about ourselves. BBC talked about that. and looking at what they've done so far of the content has been really popular. And they focus on so many different things they've been doing and what's been out there that people can talk about. And honestly, like if you wanted to go find stuff on YouTube, if you just had YouTube as a standalone platform to just watch content, you'll never run out. You'll never run out of content. There's so much there that you might not have watched before. And then stuff that's out there that, I mean, there's so much stuff that's out there that I've never seen before, but it's like super huge because I never caught it. I never decided to go and look. I look at my subscriptions, nothing else, much more. And then the algorithm they give you is so good at giving you recommendations, just like TikTok does. They do a really good job of it. It's gotten better over time as well. The Pew Research Center also talked about YouTube and how American users are on YouTube. More U.S. adults use YouTube than any other online platform that's been asked about. As of 2024, 85% of adults say they ever use YouTube. That's crazy. More than Facebook, Instagram, and other social media sites and apps. Majorities of adults use YouTube. More than 9 out of 10 adults under 50 say they use the site. 86% of adults ages 50 to 64. Incredible. An overwhelming majority of U.S. teens also use YouTube. 9 in 10 U.S. teens, or 13 to 17, say they ever use YouTube. That's huge. And about a third of U.S. adults say they get regularly their news from YouTube. Also important. And then also, a quarter of adult YouTube users say they regularly get news from news influencers on any social media site. So all this here, that YouTube is so important and so instrumental in how much they have changed the climate of news overall. Now, let's talk about what has happened to the news and what's been going on with the media and its continued decline. Because look at where we are 20 years later, and we already see where YouTube is. Well, let's look at what the current state of media is right now for the rest of the world. So now it's time to go into the humdrum of what is media today. There's a lot to get into, by the way. We got to get into what there is a lot when it comes to radio and in broadcasting itself. But I want to go just to a couple different things when it comes to radio. We'll get into that in just a moment. But first of all, one of the other stories that really got a lot of press here, Hollywood Reporter talking about the fact that the news and the trust in the news is dropping so much. And as we talk about with YouTube, with social media in general, that trust in news is going down. So there was a Semaphore Summit that happened in Washington, D.C., which is coming to the political side of news, that media executives gathered as the news industry faces existential questions. Yeah, the legacy media, the established media, they're not being trusted. And people are not watching the news as it is. And I will tell you like this. If you try to watch any of these news broadcasts now, whether it's the nightly news, whether it's the news on all the cable channels, or just the local news, I don't want to watch or listen, and I feel dumber every time I watch any of those channels, because if I listen and I don't have, and just like, maybe just go ahead and keep my eyes closed. And if I just listen to the broadcast, I kid you not, I feel like I'm watching or listening to hard copy, a current affair, or Inside Edition, currently today. It's that shock and awe, whatever kind of emotion they want to get you into, tabloidistic type of news, which in the 90s was okay, in the 80s was okay, but not now. Like the way they do the news now, it's all about shock and awe. It's all about whatever senses they can get to you that will get you outraged, mad, upset, crying, whatever they want, scared. Like they love fear. So this is all happening right now. The Gallup Building hosted the Semaphore's Innovation to Restore Trust in News, a national summit, and there were various people that came in to talk about this. It also doubled as a meeting of media reporters, and it seemed that nearly every journalist that covers the beat was taking notes about during the talks and commiserating about the sorry state of affairs at the cocktail party. And so one of the things that was being talked about here, which I'm not going to go into the names of who's talking about who, because I don't want to get into political crap, but one of the things that was being said is that the country would be better off if we had the old version of CNN and the original version of MSNBC, where, as we talked about years ago, objective journalism, where opinion editorials were separate. You knew which shows were opinion editorials, we know which news were news, and you could see it without any kind of bias whatsoever. But it's all gone away. The Wall Street Journal editor-in-chief Emma Tucker talks about that distance is always useful when you're a journalist or an editor. If people are switching away from the news and they don't trust it, then it is on us to win that trust back. Well, I don't know how you're going to get it back now. I don't know how that happens. In the 70s, we had Walter Cronkite, the voice of God, but today, perhaps being honest with your audience about your point of view or how you are learning about what you're writing about could help a news brand out. And that's also the truth as well. There's no trust in any of these people. There's just no feeling of connection to any of these folks. Catherine Marr with NPR actually made a point of saying that one thing we could proactively do as a profession is that we had to invest in local journalism. The backbone of our business is local TV stations. It's a huge competitive advantage for us, but they're also losing ratings as well. The news I watch locally here from Miami and West Palm Beach used to be the best. They can't even do the news they do anymore because they don't have the money for it. And then there's like no local outlets I can go to for any of that kind of thing. I have to go find these citizen journalists that are out there doing stuff. And I find out things that way. Or go behind the paywall of various newspapers like Palm Beach Post or Sun Sentinel or Miami Herald, but I don't do that either. Mars says, we have 200 newsrooms across the country, nearly 3,000 local journalists, and every quarter we sit down with the heads of those newsrooms and say, what's on the docket? What are the people in your community interested in? So we are really being much more responsive to that. One thing I haven't learned about yet is that I want to know what's going to happen about AI. And what are we going to get about AI when it comes to seeing if that's going to help towards local news? If we're going to have local news sources that can feed information into AI, and then that AI will transmit. And there's a thing where the news will be disseminated, it'll be reported, it'll be generated by AI, and then it can be delivered. Like, I'd love to see that kind of delivery platform coming up for local news, because that would be great if it can get that news instantaneously into AI, in from local news sources. The input goes in, the algorithm takes care of the business, and then it delivers it after it's generated. That would be a great thing. So that was a big deal that happened in Washington, D.C. this week. So we have all radio stuff now coming up here in the current set. So let's go and talk about that. First of all, the constant conversation when it comes to the bills about music royalties. Well, now we have the effort to block radio royalty. The local Radio Freedom Act has found that make its way to climb once again. House members are trying to sign that. And there's a companion resolution in the Senate to blunt attempts on the music industry to change federal copyright laws and force radio stations to pay performance royalty for on-air music use. This is the one that the NAB supports, of course. They want to go and just shut it down. And in this, lawmakers would be on record opposing any new performance fee, tax, royalty, or other charge on stations. Again, radio wouldn't be charged. The Copyright Royalty Board will be tasked to develop 5-year licensing agreements with the music industry and radio for most stations, and lower rates will be carved out for smaller operators. That's what they want to go do. Just make it a blanket check. And then not many people are going to get much out of that. Meanwhile, if you're doing it with the American Music Fairness Act, it's a much different story. Because the bigger stations are going to have to pay a bigger cut of the royalties they have to go and pay. And the kind of charge you're going to get to that. But I'm not happy about any of this. Of course, the NAB president is happy to go ahead and say that this is being done. And, quote, their support will help ensure that local radio stations continue serving our communities for years to come. Screw that. I'm with the artists. American Music Fairness Act. I want that passed. But again, we're back to these again. New administration. They're going to bring all this back up to the forefront. So whatever. Next story that comes into play. Odyssey is in a big way right now going on the things. So a number of things that have been happening right now. Odyssey has been making a lot of changes in their bankruptcy settlement. And here's a couple of things that have been happening. So number one, we have major layoffs going on right now. 250 to 300 staffers across the country will be let go for cost savings restructurings, and a majority, if not all, the company's national digital content team is being eliminated. They're going to get rid of that division altogether. Jeez. And so there are now a listing of people that are being dropped out of markets, people that have been around for a long time, years and years in their space. David O'Leary in Boston, he leaves the adult contemporary station Magic 106.7 after 20 years. I'm looking to see here. There's others that have been decades in the business that are being dropped off now. It's all this that goes on. It's, of course, It's horrible to go and see this kind of thing going on, but they do it, and it's stupid. And what are you going to do? And there's a lot where there's a particular program that's going to be cut, along with the layoffs. It just sucks. Everything that's on here, it just sucks. The next thing is Odyssey has sold radio.com. The domain has been, for disclosed price, it's now sold. And it was initially placed in 2022. The auction ended this past March without a successful bid. Minimum bid was set at $2.5 million. And they haven't said who's bought it, but an undisclosed price has been set, and radio.com is now set. Let's see if they bring it back to something else. I want to see what it's going to be. Broadcasters getting together about the talk of radio deregulation. And the FCC Commissioner Nathan Symington made headlines at the National Association of Broadcasters State Leadership Conference with comments signaling a strong push towards radio deregulation. So here's into this. I'm going to take for Radio Inc. with a little bit more streamline on the story here. He says, quote, should we expect broadcast deregulation? I think it's absolutely clear that we will. And FCC Chairman Brendan Carr and Commissioner Symington had a candid fireside chat with the NAB, and they covered a lot of different issues about the controversial FCC actions that the FCC has been working on right now. Symington says the audience under Chairman Carr does not intend to impose a partisan perspective on local news. The focus will be on ensuring newsworthy reporting while avoiding overreach into editorial discretion. And he says there's more of a shift towards a more infrastructure-focused commission. The FCC, quote, is probably going to become a little bit less portatory and a little bit more concerned with bread and butter, hard technology issues. And when it comes to impending deregulation, he says they don't just come from another era, they come from another paradigm. And then the FCC enforcement processes, that Supreme Court decisions can impact the constitutionality of the FCC's finding authority, potentially reshaping how enforcement actions are handled. So there's that's been said on this particular panel here. So I don't want deregulation back, but you know what? Something's going on where it's just being allowed, and it sucks. It's not what I want at all. A couple more stories I'm going to bring up real quickly. One more story I want to go and bring into, and that is the story about country music and the country music format. That has it gone to male? Well, and I think for years it always has been. We haven't had a lot of significant female artists out there that are out there singing. And I think there's been a constant problem with music world where they've gone after more men out there because of what they've been doing. And it was a new study from New Voodoo Media. And in their research, they held it at last week's Country Radio Seminar. And they talk about the fact that country radio's decision to include men as a part of their research target has now swung things too far from the late, unlimited period of country in the pre-Morgan Wallen era of the mid to late 2010s. And so they went to 1,500 country fans honed from a larger 7,000-person study of music preference. In that sample, women were more likely to cite country music as their favorite format. And in this sample, they had 58% female respondents. Women were less likely, however, they said, to listen to country radio for at least 15 minutes a day or an hour a day. And 2/3 of the country fans were country radio P1s. Men outscored over women. And they said that there's been a reversal in recent years during the listener recruitment process. Male respondents used to be harder to recruit at country. Now they're filling its male research quotas ahead of its female slots. So they're still saying about the fact that country is still the envy of any other current base format. And ratings across the board there's still a lot of good stations right now that are doing well in the country ratings of country stations. And when they talk about this particular thing, one of the PDs they talked to from Idaho Falls says that, quote, most programmers would agree that the format is more male skewing now. Few has gone as far as say to male. It definitely leans way more female from a programming standpoint. If the format wanted to target men, they would be pushing Zach Bryan as the biggest artist of the format alongside Morgan Wallen. So one of the things they talk about in terms of the country music format and just country music in general right now in the mainstream is that nobody wants to go back to how it was when it was like soccer mom type music was boyfriend country ballads. And if there's still a stylistic balance in country radio, if we preserve it. Amongst the streaming-driven hits, there are still balanced records largely driven by call-out. And programs should also stop resisting streaming stories if they indeed still are. From the perspective of somebody who watches other formats struggle with current product, country is still benefiting at the moment from a mix of streaming and call-out stories and must not hand over the music process of streaming entirely. Yeah, country still has a chance to go ahead and keep an audience because they do. So they keep a young audience in. Music Road is always very much attached to things, and that's what happens. There's something where country radio still has a younger audience and is still the most engaging current format around for whatever reason. Pop doesn't have that at all. And that's the part we're seeing more of anything. And it's not the fact we don't have a plethora of female artists to go and listen to. Now you have Ella Langley that's out there who's great in her music right now. You have Dasha had the song Austin last year was big. She want to play Beyonce, I guess, but I guess that kind of like throws things away, but who knows? But that's the part we're talking about. Like country music still has a way to go and continue to move forward and do a lot. But are they doing enough? I don't know if that is, but it remains to be seen. Radio already suffers anyway so much with so much of what's going on because you're not getting great music out there on the pop stations or the new music stations because they don't want to play Discovery. Again, the call-out stories that they're talking about in that particular research, it's very important what they're saying right there. And we need more of that. That's the show for tonight. So we got a little bit of balance between the YouTube 20th anniversary and the managed decline of media, which radio doesn't have to be part of that. I said all the time. Come back for another Broadcasters podcast. Remember, the content is king and the control of your content is in your hands.